Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Nuggets News. Well, what a massive week for global markets and the crypto world. If you had have told me 7 years ago Donald Trump and the Federal Reserve Chairman would be talking about Bitcoin and the price would be $10,000, I would never have believed you. So we've got plenty of news to get through. A huge thank you to over 1,000 new subscribers again this week that pushed us past that 50K mark. You know, I would never have thought we'd come this far, and it's not possible without the support of all you guys leaving likes and comments and watching our videos. Particular thank you to our premium members, and that is a big source of income for our business, which allows us to do a lot of that work for the community. I hope you guys are enjoying that extra education. And this week we did launch Nuggets News /learn. So this is a free resource for everyone. If you've got friends that are saying, you know, I just don't understand it or I want to learn more, we've got 10 modules. They're all broken down further into individual units. We've spent a lot of time on this, so a big thank you to Matt and all my team for getting this together. Hopefully this is an amazing resource for you guys to use. And finally, a big thanks to New Brighton Capital. They've come on board to support the channel. Plenty of you guys are taking advantage of the free consultation they offer to see if this is right for you, if you want to park a small percentage of your self-managed super in Bitcoin long term. So let's get into the local news, and we did have another outage this week. Remember, the government want to ban cash, and every week, every month we see, you know, FBOS machines, ATMs, the network down. So let me know if you're affected by that as a retailer or an individual, and what are we going to do if we don't have cash in future in those situations. So the Aussie housing market has bounced back a little bit by a lot of the metrics, but it looks like those that are out there renting have got more options, and rental yields have been dropping the most in 15 years. So I'm not going to talk about this too much because Martin North and I will be doing our full detailed rundown of the market this week. Now, around the world, we've been talking a lot about negative interest rates. And if you've heard of junk bonds, these are the super risky companies that offer you a higher yield to compensate for that risk. And typically, you know, you're talking 7 or 8% as least. Now, these junk bonds with interest rates so low are now in negative territory. This is just completely unheard of. Negative yielding junk bonds. So you're getting paid back less money to even take risk. This is the upside down world that we currently live in. And this is why so many people are turning to precious metals, cryptocurrency and the like. Now, I got this message from someone I trust this week that had precious metals in a vault with this company, and they've been put into liquidation and they're unable to access their deposit boxes. So we did get confirmation of this company. A lot of people knew it as Perth Bullion Company. I'm going to try and get Paul from Ainsley Bullion on the show to talk about what is this, how does it all work? You know, are your precious metals in danger if you're not holding them yourself? So hopefully I'll have that for you this week. Now, we continue to see central banks and even countries joining this race. So Poland, you know, huge increase in their reserves. We've seen Hungary do this. We've seen China do it. More and more people are beginning to stockpile gold for a lot of the reasons that I've mentioned. Now, not only that, we see some of the biggest traders out there that are building big positions in the silver market. So highest that's been for a long time. And I really do think silver is going to have to play catch up to gold at some point with that ratio really blowing out into the 90s. So global gold holdings really trending up. Holdings of treasuries and bonds, the negative yield. This is a pretty clear divergence that we've seen start this year. So sticking to China here, and they are going to push back on America with those sanctions. America does sell a lot of weapons to different countries around the world. So, you know, we're seeing, you know, how they want to prod the other, and every week there's going to be, you know, some more tensions out there. I don't see this being resolved anytime soon. But again, let me know what you guys think. And China obviously came out, and this is a theory that I floated last year that China are going to launch their own cryptocurrency. They're going to, you know, pretend to be the good guy, but really they can monitor all your transactions, and they've really pushed back against Libra. So a number of countries have said they're going to speed up, you know, the building of their own coins, and they're not going to allow Libra. Now over to Britain, and we have 40% of Brits bracing for this no deal. So really interested if we do have any UK subscribers to let us know how it's all going there with people stockpiling food and medicine. Is this going to be a rocky road, or do you think there's still hope for a smooth transition even after all these years without being able to get negotiations too far? Now, we've seen in China this facial recognition software being pushed out pretty widely, but in the US, they want to take this to fast food drive-through soon and license plates. So you're starting to see how this sort of all overlaps. Firstly, it's malls, then fast food stores, they want to be able to monitor all your transactions on a blockchain. So it's really this world where there's no secrets anymore, and this is the real battle with privacy about should you be allowed to have secrets in the modern world, or if you've got nothing to hide, you should have to disclose everything you're doing. I've been speaking a lot about semiconductor equipment sales around the world, or those chips. In the digital age we live in, that's one of those metrics that when sales are collapsing, we need to be fairly wary that this does affect the modern economy and that sort of software, that technology that we really rely on these days. So another metric that we want to keep our eye on, particularly the US, China, Japan, those guys that are really doing a lot of this trading as well. So we've been speaking about these store closures, another 12,000 forecasted to close this year. This is just not good news. If you're one of these people on a minimum wage job, you're working in retail, you're really trying hard to get in front. It's all being automated, moving online. So, I'm not against technology and automation, but we need to be creating new jobs. We've seen this before plenty of times throughout history, but unless the economy is really chugging along well and creating those new jobs and being really efficient, then a lot of these people are being left without work. And we see that in the underemployment numbers in Australia, in the US, across the globe. Now, another thing I've been talking a lot about on the channel is the opioid crisis in America, and a lot of people don't really see how this is related to the economy, but the stats are now that it is so bad, it is actually affecting the unemployment rate in America. So another drug maker here, a huge settlement. This is a drug that is used to treat opiate addiction. And these guys certainly are making money on both sides of the coin, dispensing the medications and controlling the remedies as well. Now, this was a photo that had been floating around Twitter. I was certainly one of the people that thought that this was the fired Deutsche Bank employees, but it turns out that they are just tailors, and Deutsche Bank CEO scolded the bankers who were getting new suits fitted as those 20,000 employees were being fired. That I brought you that story last week, and sure enough, those severance payments for those workers who were fired may be getting cut. I spoke about the huge reimbursement that one of the head of investment bank was getting to the tune of $12 million. And unfortunately, the lower end of the food chain is not going to be as lucky. So I want to talk about uranium, and it was that Section 232 that Donald Trump has backed away from. I did speak about this in my ultimate guide to uranium investing, and this was going to benefit local producers in the US, but it's one thing that surprisingly Donald Trump hasn't gone for. So if you want to know more about that, please check out that video I did, and for our members, I have done my top 10 uranium stocks and how the professionals think about investing in such commodities. Now, if you've been down the rabbit hole a little while, you've probably heard of this term, the debt ceiling, and government now warning that it could be breached as soon as September. So this is honestly comical how every couple of years you'll see the same headlines and the government shuts down for a few weeks at a time. They hit this debt ceiling and they say, the economy is going to break if we don't increase the debt ceiling. We promise that we won't do it again. We're going to be, more savvy with our spending and savings and whatnot. And sure enough, every couple of years, they just increase the debt ceiling. I'm not sure what the point is of even having this once you hit 22 trillion, but just be prepared for headlines about, how much Trump is spending and the deficits and how the economy is going to come to a standstill if we don't raise that debt ceiling. So I think this is something that could actually be really good for Bitcoin once those headlines start to surface in the coming weeks. Now, Trump obviously tweeted that he's not a fan of Bitcoin. This has been spoken about to death. Is there any surprise that he's out there, defending the US dollar and saying that Libra's bad, Bitcoin's bad, and so on? But just like we saw when Facebook came out with their own coin, all those people have Bitcoin under their nose, and they're now saying, wow, Donald Trump's talking about this, I want to learn more, all that sort of thing. So no such thing as bad publicity, if you ask me. And obviously the Fed chairman, Jerome Powell, comparing Bitcoin to gold and saying that people see this as a store of value. It's huge. That is a huge, huge step for the legitimacy of Bitcoin and the crypto space. Finally, this was only just out a couple of hours ago when I was putting this video together. Keep big tech out of finance. So this is a bill that's just been drafted trying to say that, you tech giants, you can't go into the finance industry as well. And this is going to be a huge battle with their lawyers and their deep pockets as they push back and say, well, why not? And this is really getting people thinking about, well, what is money? What is value? Who's allowed to issue their own currencies and all that sort of thing. So it truly is amazing how this has all played out in just a few months from last year when people thought Bitcoin was dead, and now it's in the headlines again every day. Now, there's a popular Aussie commentator, Peter Switzer. He has, finance shows on television, on YouTube, that sort of thing. And he called out Bitcoin, saying it needs to be banned and whatnot. And I did tweet him back at the time, and he did get back to me. So tomorrow night on Monday, I am going to be on his show debating him about the usefulness of Bitcoin. Let's see if we can convert him, as we did with Alan Kohler back in 2017, who's now pretty pro Bitcoin. If you want my thoughts on the macro economy, please check out this video I did with Raul. So this is on target to be our most popular ever video. Plenty of you guys watched that and enjoyed it. I'll look to have him back on in the future, and we've been very lucky to get some good guests lately, and that comes with, I guess, subscriber numbers on Twitter and YouTube and whatnot. So again, that is all thanks to you guys for supporting the channel that we can get those sort of guests. Now let's dive into the crypto news. A little project that I've supported, Aussie guys, Loki. This is a privacy-based project, and they've got their messenger app now. So they want to build more and more apps on top of that base privacy layer. Huge step forward. I've spoken about the importance of privacy to death. It's great to see that that beta is out, and give that a try if you haven't already. Another little Aussie project we had on the channel in our gaming week was Gods Unchained. They've also put out a public beta. This has been really loved by the Ethereum community so far. A bit of a Magic the Gathering online sort of feel by Fuel Games, and I'm going to try and get their company on again because they're doing a lot of other projects which I think you guys are going to find super interesting. Now let's talk about exchanges. So Binance have launched their margin trading. A few people have used it. Only 20 times leverage so far, so a lot of people are still staying on BitMEX, and I'm going to talk about a few of the other alternatives going forward. But good news for Binance holders this week, as 26 million worth of BNB were burnt. They've changed the language around a lot of this, and they've announced that a lot of the team's tokens, they're not going to take custody over those. So there's a few rumors going around about why that is. There's always something at play. CZ can be pretty savvy there. So the team did have a huge amount of tokens. Whether or not they're not taking hold of those because they believe it's going to push up the value of BNB for their current holdings more long term, but I'm looking forward to reading your comments below on that one. Now, Kyber is one of the better decentralized exchanges out there, and they do offer margin trading, which I think a lot of people don't realize. This is getting better and better, more liquidity every day, but they have added this limit order feature. So I can just plug this in. It doesn't take custody of my funds until we hit the target price. So I can have my Ethereum in my ledger, and I can say I want to sell when that hits $300 and I want to go to DAI, and that will process that automatically. So very cool stuff there. Kyber is starting to get recognized for the great project it is. It is built on top of and integrating a lot of these other projects like 0x. Now they did find a vulnerability in that contract. Luckily enough, they have migrated that and patched it, but never good news when we do find that a third-party audit finds something pretty wrong with these protocols, which have been out there for a fair while now. So it's good that it's picked up. No one was harmed. It's patched now, but we just have to be so cautious in this crypto space. I just wanted to share this headline with you because there's 250 registered exchanges in Australia, and there's 110 reported to be trying to get licensed in Japan. These guys make so much money. Binance have just made more revenue again last quarter. People are just going to have this in their face with marketing and all that. I just see this as part of the next wave for retail and mass adoption that is absolutely waiting to unfold. And they're not all going to succeed, but they're all going to try their hardest to get more customers. I think that marketing is just going to be absolutely everywhere once that next bull market gets into full swing. Now, another project that has had its issues, or Veil was building on top of Augur. So a prediction market. I really love Augur. I think Veil was just, too soon. Great product, allowing people to make those predictions and bets. Great user interface. But I just don't think that people are ready for this just yet. It's still pretty clunky to use Ethereum and a number of these apps. We know that, guys, but further down the track, more users. I'm not sure if this one will be booted back up, or we're going to see other people build the front end for the Augur prediction markets. Now, there's a fair bit of STO news this week. So whether it's Goldman Sachs executive talking about unprecedented working on their own digital assets and that sort of thing, every banking corporation is going to issue their own coin in my eyes. There's even rumors that Google are looking to go down this path going forward. So, don't be surprised when we see all these sort of companies wanting to get into the STO space, issue their own currency, all that sort of thing as well going forward. But Coinbase launching its own insurance company is something that I found super interesting. So the next wave of people that aren't tech savvy, can't hold their own coins, all that sort of thing, they're looking for custody and insurance. And I really think Coinbase is still the most important company in crypto because they're trusted. They're in one of the most heavily regulated environments. So if you can do it there and do it well, you can basically do it anywhere, I believe. So looking forward to using this. I've used Coinbase for a while now, and I'd love to have insurance on those funds. That would just be such a huge step for everyone around the globe using Coinbase. Now, Open Finance is another project that I've covered in my STO videos, and they've added their first hedge fund token. So this token is known as Protus. It's a STO that's representing hedge funds, a mix of assets and whatnot. So these things are starting to come out, which is just so exciting to see when we cover those STO platforms. Only 6 months or a year ago, and we're starting to see Reg A plus compliant tokens, the first one in the US being approved. So congrats to Blockstack. The next day, we also saw another Ethereum token for YouNow get the approval. So US regulators are out there giving things the green stamp. The people that come to them and do this properly are getting around or passing these security laws. So absolutely huge stuff. I'm going to continue to talk about STO platforms on the channel, and we did interview the guys from PrefLogic last week. So super interesting interview. Check that one out if you haven't already. The Litecoin halving now only 28 days away, and Charlie Lee himself saying that there's going to be a shock to the mining. So Bitcoin's continued to trend higher, and miners, they have a big incentive there. Now, if the Litecoin reward drops in half, that's probably going to see a big drop in their hash rate. Now, that makes it vulnerable to those 51% attacks and whatnot. So I'm looking to see if they're going to do some sort of merge mining to piggyback off Bitcoin. Maybe the Litecoin price is going to have another run up in the next 28 days into that halving and still going to be highly profitable for people to mine Litecoin. But I think Charlie's going to go to every effort to try and get up that price. Let me know what you guys think. Is that hash rate going to drop to the point where it is going to be in danger, or you think that the Litecoin community is going to respond and it's going to be safe? This is the sort of announcements that I think we're going to see a few more of in the coming weeks as Litecoin becomes the official currency of the Miami Dolphins. You guys in the US, let me know if you're a Dolphins fan. Now, Samsung have been busy integrating Ethereum, wallets, all these sort of things. So that software development kit is now out in beta. Official launch very soon. Such bullish news for Ethereum with these huge household names, really looking to get involved with this ecosystem. Finally, into the Bitcoin news, and SegWit-enabled transactions hit a new all-time high. So you might have seen that the Bitcoin network is now being used as much as it was back in the 2017 bull market, but at the time, fees were crazy high because of the congestion. Now, what SegWit does is remove the signature data from the block, and we can fit more transactions in the same amount of space. So this basically makes Bitcoin a lot more efficient. That's why we're looking to make all these little tweaks, improvements in efficiency before maybe increasing the block size down the road. So it's great to see the network is chugging along. Fees are pretty reasonable at the moment, but there's always room for improvement. Now, before we talk about price action, there are a few pretty big events that took place this week. So a whale dumped 6,500 Bitcoin on Binance, and it tanked the price to 12,100. The price was a lot higher on other exchanges, and I was at the screen when this happened. I did let our members know that this is a great arbitrage opportunity, and the price did recover and bounce back fairly quickly once these were eaten away. There's some good videos out there of market makers buying those up and moving Tether to Binance and all that thing. Very exciting, and if you know what you're doing with margin trading and BitMEX and so on, these are the sort of little opportunities where there's a very asymmetric upside reward when you say, look, price is probably going to bounce back once this order's eaten up. Jump on, and sure enough, that worked out really well. So I hope a few of you guys did make money off that. Now, today we had the news that 5 billion Tether were printed. This did turn out to be an error, a fat finger as they call it on Wall Street. I think the number was only 50 million in the end. So yes, a lot of Tether is being printed. Some people think this is a conspiracy. I actually think it is just big money entering through the correct ways. We know that Tether is absolutely craved in China. They buy their Tether, then they disperse and buy and trade their crypto and so on. So when we see these Tether being printed, as the Kraken CEO said, it's just an increase in retail demand all of the time. He sees it coming through their bank accounts and then onto the exchange. So I don't think the conspiracy is that big out there. I don't think it's just Tether printing out of thin air that have survived these huge 90% corrections. They've been paying out huge dividends to the Bitfinex shareholders for years now. I just don't see where this, insolvency, where this money could be hiding. But again, let me know what you guys think. I could be wrong. Finally, we spoke about shorts and how they've continued to drop off a cliff. And it's crazy that one trader or a group of traders can control such a huge number. So another 10,000 shorts fell off a cliff. I'll see if I can bring this back up here again for you guys. And you'll see on the daily chart here where it just drops down to one of its lowest ever levels at around 5,000 or 6,000 there. So currently trading at around 7,000. If we look at the longs there, fairly high at 23,000. So when we get that ratio, I really think that this leads the way for a long squeeze. So if we break down, then there's a lot of people sitting in those margin longs. That number's even higher on BitMEX, particularly for Ethereum. So everyone is betting that this is just going to rocket up. And that's where I'd love, for the market internals, the health of the market, a squeeze or a controlled correction. We just don't want people to get all excited and margin long. That would equal out those positions, and then Bitcoin can take off in its next journey. And that sustains it for a few weeks, rather than it just continuing on when it's already sort of run out of steam and still overbought here on the weekly RSI. So let's go into the daily chart. This triangle has been drawn a few different ways by different traders, but the fact is we are in an equilibrium pattern. These moving averages have continued to hold each time they've been tested. We're making higher lows on the daily. So there's not a lot of volume. This is probably the one thing that has concerned me a little bit on this most recent sell-off. We saw more volume than the buyers that have been stepping in. And now we are at a super critical point. So this level here, right around 11,000, is coming into play at the 12 EMA there. That uptrend line. So if we lose that, I think we're going to see a fairly decent move. Probably retest these lows here back at around 10,000. We've got the 50-day moving average coming into play at 9.8 there. And finally, I'll just draw this fib retracement for you guys, because the other level that a lot of people are now eyeing off is around 9,000, just under there. And we saw this in a lot of trading sort of take place around this area. So if we do lose that 11,000 level, it's super key to where we started this cycle bracket as well. That would tell us that weakness would likely last a few more days, out until around July 20th, where maybe we can have this sort of false breakdown and then we get more of a push up. But let's take it one day at a time and see what that volume looks like. See how the buyers step in as they have here with these wicks. Now, finally, I do want to just mention that Ethereum Bitcoin ratio, something that I've been hoping that would bottom out, but it does look like we are going to make new lows here. So there's not a lot of support if we do break down below 0.22 there. Who knows what's happening in terms of dollar price at this stage, but a lot of these altcoins are looking really weak in terms of their Bitcoin trading ratio. So Litecoin, another one that we are hoping can have one more move up and break those highs before the Litecoin halving. Let's see if Charlie Lee can step in with that news. And finally, one I just wanted to mention, I'm getting a lot of the questions about, is Link. So let's bring that up on the Binance chart where it's got more data. I did a video about this. It may have even been this week, and talking about when a coin runs from 50 cents to $5 in just a few days, it's a 10x, and you've got to be aware that people are going to take profit. So I actually think this is a really important project. I've done videos on oracles, and at the time I think I said just wait for this to pull back to the moving averages. Yeah, it was right around here when we did that video, and we're seeing buyers step in. So this is really healthy action. That is what you want to see if you're a Link holder. If you don't know what oracles are, watch that video I did with Austin Griffith. That's all for today, guys. Make sure you head over and check out our new learning units. Become a member at nuggetsnews.com.au. Smash that like, subscribe if you haven't already, share these videos around, and thanks for tuning in. Cheers.